It's time for Mr. Fundamental!
Presented by no one.
There were mixed reactions when the Pelicans hired Stan Van Gundy as their new head coach. I think it's a good hire, especially if the Pelicans are aiming for the playoffs, or at least show some improvements in the upcoming season. He might not have the connection with players, like this awkward encounter with Dwight Howard.
Stop Carmelo Anthony and the New York Knicks tonight.
And the New York Knicks.
That's exactly
That's
right.
the plan, right?
That is the plan. That's what I just said. Are you guys done with me?
Yeah.
Let's all
You talk to him now.
All right. But he'll bring some discipline and attention to detail to this young team. We've got a lot to go through, so let's get into it. The Pelicans were one of the fastest teams last year under Alvin Gentry, and that makes sense. They have a young team, and more transition buckets means less half-court offense. Stan Van Gundy's last stint with the Pistons were bottom 10 in pace every year. While taking away the Pelicans' bread and butter from last year doesn't bode well, he will shore up their half-court offense. Stan Van Gundy loves to run high-post actions, and that's how Drummond showed off his playmaking chops before the Blake Griffin trade. Drummond catches it at the wing, and Harris sets a back screen for Jackson. Easy read, easy pass, easy bucket. Stan Van Gundy was one of the first to preach the 4-out, 1-in system with Dwight Howard, so there will always be enough shooters to receive these handoffs and drain the three. Now let's put Zion in his place. He's a pretty good passer, and these should be some easy reads he could make. Handing off to JJ Redick was already part of their offense, but these high post handoffs is just going to magnify Redick's gravity. The real sauce for getting Zion at the high post is that he's basically one dribble away from the basket. He'll either blow by his defender or bump them off and get right to the basket. He catches it at the elbow and just one dribble away from the basket. The off-ball movement serves to distract the help defense, and Zion only needs to worry about finishing at the basket. When Drummond catches it at the top, look at how Gobert is guarding him. Drummond isn't a threat to shoot, but those handoffs with shooters got him attached to Drummond. Also look at how wide open the paint is. A back screen or cut will get them a layup, which is why all the defenders are glued to their man. Gobert can't stop the straight line drive by Drummond, and he gets the and one. With the Pelicans' desire to attack an unset defense, they kept turning the ball over to try and get the ball up. They were second last in turnovers per game, and I'll come back to this a bit later. Getting bigs to run handoffs at the elbow limits the need for perimeter players to create off the dribble. Drummond takes the only dribble, and Bullock only needs to cut back door for an easy layup. This makes the game easier for average shot creators, maybe like a Josh Hart, who just needs to elevate and float in a close basket. Imagine Lonzo curling off the handoff. There'll be plenty of lob opportunities for Zion in these sets. Even for capable creators like Tobias Harris, he gets an extra screen to get his defender trailing. Once he gets the ball, it's a straight line drive to the rim for the and one. Smith kicks out after there's no opening. Against a set defense, Harris understands that handoffs makes life easier for him, so he gives it up right away and sprints towards the handoff. This no contact screen didn't matter, and Harris gets all the way to the rim. If he missed it, look who's there to clean it up. These will cut down turnovers, and the nature of these off-ball actions won't rely on one perimeter player to create. Stan Van Gundy has already talked about getting Lonzo off the ball. These handoffs provide Lonzo a healthy diet of on-ball and off-ball possessions. This is going to help with his jumper development, something I've talked about extensively in my previous Lonzo video, especially on his footwork. I think Brandon Ingram might not see a big increase in his production, but his efficiency will rise. He's going to get some good looks off the ball, like this quick backdoor cut gets him a slam. He could act as a screener before the handoff and flare to the wing. Look at the defensive attention it warrants. A handoff between two average offensive players in Bradley and Lure. He'll get the ball with a recovering defender, where he could blow by or knock down the three in the defender's face. When we factor in Ingram's likely transition to the three, playing besides two average or non-shooting bigs in Zion and Adams, his shooting splits might not rise. However, his passing will. Ingram doesn't have a great assist to turnover ratio. It's not a big deal with the way he's scoring, but he could be the one initiating these handoff sets. He could be working off the ball and attacking a scramble defense, and here he finds Smith who hits the mid-range pull-up jumper. We couldn't see the initial handoff, but it got cat switched onto Harris. These top of the key ISO is going to be a common sight, and any help defense will result in an easy kick out and an open triple. With the addition of Steven Adams, spacing is going to be tight. Adams will be capable of filling in that Drummond role I've shown earlier, but this also means that they believe Zion has taken the next step in his shooting and off-the-dribble development. Maybe not these type of coast-to-coast into an alley-oop, like what Blake Griffin does here, but marginal improvements might already be enough. Going back to the handoff sets, Zion could be the one coming off the handoff, and these straight line drives will limit his ball handling responsibilities if he's not ready. Cutting off the initiator is a good way to get open, and Zion could get the dish from Adams and get an easy look under the rim. Even with another big on the court, Stan Van Gundy still had Griffin running handoffs. Imagine Adams standing in the dunker spot, while Zion is replacing Griffin. The fake handoff gets the switch, and the blow-by all the way to the rim. Here it is again. See how Covington is loading up towards the baseline to absorb the contact. Griffin turns down the handoff with a spin, and gets the and one on Covington. The biggest effect is that these perimeter handoffs usually gets a switch. Griffin just slowly backs down the smaller defender, and it didn't matter that Drummond was in the dunker spot. If Zion really took the next step in his development, we might see some Zion-Adams pick and roll, and draining the three without hesitation. It's more likely these will happen in open court, where the defense isn't set for easy baskets at the rim. Of course, the Pelicans' depth chart does pave way for some Zion as center lineups, where he'll run handoffs with the paint wide open. The main reason they added Adams is on the other end of the floor. Stan Van Gundy has always prioritized defense, and the first way to do so is limiting transition points. This brings us back to limiting the turnovers. The fewer live ball turnovers, the fewer transition opportunities for opponents. Simple as that. In the 11 full season as NBA head coach, Stan Van Gundy was top 10 in turnover percentage 6 times, and league average or better for 8 seasons. They were top 10 in limiting opponent transition 10 out of the 11 seasons, top 10 in opponent free throw rate 7 times, and above league average 10 times. They ranked top 10 in defensive rebounding rate, and second chance points allowed for 10 out of the 11 seasons too. In short, Stan Van Gundy teams limited turnovers, prevent transition points, don't send opponents to the line, and emphasizes defensive rebounding. All this are essential stuff for a good defense. These numbers are some hard contrast to what the Pelicans did last year. Granted, those teams had Dwight Howard and Andre Drummond as an anchor. They went out and got one in Adams. Zion's athleticism oozes with small ball center potential, but potential might take some time to develop. His rookie year was filled with bad footwork and late rotations, but this might have been masked by his athletic defensive highlights. Like this one, it seems that he's going for the steal, then stands straight up to allow a blow-by. He shows on the Giannis pick and roll, while Holiday recovers. Not sure what their defensive scheme was, but he loses his man and points towards no one. He's stuck in no man's land, and they give up the basket. He reminds me of Andre Drummond when Stan Van Gundy first joined the Pistons. He gambled a lot and always had defensive lapses, but sometimes they get covered up by their athleticism. Take this play for instance. Curry is sprinting for the pin down. Drummond basically helped with the screen by closing up this gap, forcing his teammate to go over. Curry gets open for a while, and Drummond never thought about jabbing at him, and they give up the open 3. Pairing him with Adams allows him to be a weak side helper, and any mistakes will be less detrimental for a team wanting to compete now. Also, this modern era has seen the best defensive teams having a monster at power forward, like Giannis and AD. Having another anchor next to them made them defensive juggernauts, and getting Adams next to Zion has the same intention. Stan Van Gundy isn't the flashiest hire, or one that could connect or grow with a young core. He is there to prevent and fix any bad habits, and get them to focus on details that will win them games. I see him as a Mark Jackson hire, where he's a stepping stone to push this team into the playoffs, before a potential coaching change to elevate them to a championship caliber team. The one thing I'm worried about is that they have less shooting than last year, which could hinder their new offensive sets. But Stan Van Gundy has made it work with willing but below average shooters, like Stanley Johnson, KCP, Reggie Jackson, and Blake Griffin. Let me know what you guys think of this hire, and whether they can make the playoffs next season. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like down below, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time.